I am sure sports. You know me there, from coast to coast representing. I mean, I say this is righteous representing for Omar. You don't know, come get your sports over here from near and far. Boy, 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 boy. Me say I am sure sports, one thing me sure about. When me say sure, that me not doubt. Come get your sports, get it over here. Come subscribe, repost and share. I am sure sports, one thing me sure about. When me say sure, that me not doubt. Come get your sports, get it over here. Come subscribe, repost and share. If me not sure, that me not say it. Know who score, that me not say it. Never know no game play, that me not say it. If me never seen a game, me no know who play. For your sports news, better come over here so. For your soccer news, then come over here so. If you don't love sports, still come over here so. For the date done, you a go love over here so.
So when it comes on to behavior concerning football, Jamaica is decent. I am sure that if we can get all of these things done, set in place by the end of April, it gives us enough time before the World Cup campaign. Not afraid of no Brazil, no Argentina with these crap of players. We are good enough. Remember to like, subscribe, share. Listen, comment. Let me know what your thoughts are. All right. Well, good evening and welcome to I Am Sure Sports. I am Omar Stennett. They call me Manning's Man. It is because I attended that institution all the way out there in Westmoreland, 1738. Life without learning is death. They say in the school song, dear man in school, or ancient light of learning in splendor shining over all the West, right? And I have someone who is also out of Western Jamaica. You know, his school also starts with an M. You know, you know, don't know, you know, how close they are, you know, to the great Manning's High School. You know, they beat us in cricket. You know, yes, very often, but you know, we will not speak of all the great exploits of the Manning's High School because that's not the purpose of this program today. But I have with me Mr. Keith Wellington, and he's the president of ISSA, and he'll be joining us so we can speak a little bit about schoolboy football. But before we get into all of that, and I introduce Mr. Wellington, well, I'm going to let him have the liberty of introducing himself because, you know, I'm not sure I'll be able to do much justice to Mr. Wellington, you know, because he's very, very influential in terms of high school sports across Jamaica. But I want to always encourage us to stop with every opportunity we have to say a big thank you to all our nurses, doctors, persons who work in the medical fraternity, both in the private and public sector, for their days of sacrifice and hard work in helping us to defeat and fight this COVID pandemic that we're going through. We really appreciate your hard work, and we want you to continue doing that. We don't always encourage you, but we take special time out to do that. Also want to encourage our teachers who continue to struggle in terms of being able to just cope with school online, and keep doing what you're doing. You know, better will come, better days are ahead, and this too shall pass. And so I want to encourage you to keep on working hard and doing diligent work. Thanks to all our subscribers, all the persons who are joining. I see you early, Fresh God, Coach Minzy from the coach's desk. Coach out there, if you don't know, he operates his sports program, Coach's Desk. You can check him out. But also coaches at St. Diego High School. He's here as well. Upbeat Boss, welcome. And without any further ado, I'm going to introduce our very special guest this evening, Mr. Keith Wellington. Mr. Wellington.
Hey, boss. Good evening.
I hope you didn't mind me bantering. You know, the great Monroe College.
That's minor banter. You can't win if you're trying to banter me because of where I went to school.
I can't win.
No, you can't.
All right. People will
Not as it regards the city on the hill.
The city. No, but you are the city on the hill, but we are the ancient light. I always tell people when it comes down to money, all I have to say is 1738. We set the trend, right? Everybody else and everything else follow afterwards. But I'm very sure I have some very good money school past students who are very close to you as well, that they would not appreciate us having this Manny's Monroe conversation. All right, well, blessings. How you doing? I know you have been very busy with back to school and stuff. But how are you doing? And how is life at Stets?
And as you said, it's really busy. It's the most hectic part of the school year for us. Persons don't realize how much work needs to be done in a normal year during the summer for school to reopen in September. When you tie that in with what has happened over the last 18 months with COVID, it has been really, really challenging. But I think I'm surviving. We would have gotten off to a good start for the start of the school year, and so I'm happy. I'm just happy to be alive and to be surviving.
Awesome, awesome. And I mean, school is up and running. The students are online. How has that been? Because I know that's part of the struggles that many principal have, just being able to because I know especially in Western or more rural parishes, access to internet can be a difficulty. So how have you been able to manage that at St. Elizabeth Technical High School, properly known as STEPS?
Right. So we have our challenges like most schools in Jamaica. Maybe we're a little bit better off than some, but what we have been able to engage, I would think, in terms of contact, more than 90% of our students. But in terms of just trying to get them consistently being able to access online classes, we are probably down to 70%, simply because many of our students live in areas where it's very hard to access the internet, and where they are able to access, there's the issue of cost because they don't have fixed line internet. It's data or Wi-Fi, and that makes it challenging. But we're trying our best. I think almost everybody would prefer if they were back in the physical space, back with their friends, back with their teachers, and therefore having face-to-face classes. But we're trying to ensure that the experiences are rewarding one. And, we're hoping and praying that in a few weeks, we will be able to have some level of face-to-face classes. Of course, that depends a lot on what happens with the COVID spike and our parents and students' response to the vaccine.
Yeah. I see here the brother of David Gray telling me to be very careful. How I mentioned the city.
Yeah, well, I think David, as we were mentioned, I think David and I were classmates, batchmates at Monroe.
Yes, and then he's saying to me, he's reminded me that the current principal of Manning School is a Monroonian.
Yeah.
Mr. Steve Garden. There you go. But before we get into what we really want to talk about, I just want to take a couple of these. Upbeat Boss says he wants to know how many Headley Cup stats of what. I hope you're not entering some competition and you're going to win a prize, because if that is the case and Mr. Wellington gives you the answer, you must come and share the prize with us.
Headley Cup, I think we would be about 34 now.
34 Headley Cups?
34. Yeah.
Well, that means you have the most Headley Cups.
Certainly. I think from 1979, we would only have lost, I think, 7 to Homewood, 1 to Manchester, and I think 2 to Garvey Masio.
Whoa. That's a whole lot. I didn't know. Right. 34?
Yeah, so since 1979, the only other schools that have won Headley Cup would have been Homewood 7 times, Garvey Masio twice, I think, and Manchester High once.
Okay. Well, I know you normally produce and any of the current West Indies players in the test team are past students of Stets?
No. We right now, I don't think we have any international players, but coincidentally, I think there are a couple from St. Elizabeth who didn't come to States.
Right, but
Fabian Allen is from St. Elizabeth, but he went to Veer. And young Odin Smith. Odin Smith is from Santa Cruz, but he didn't go to States either. He went to Magati. And I think the person we have closest to the top now would probably be Marquino Minley. Quite a few round and about the team, but not in. Kennar Lewis came to States as well. He went to Homewood and States. So
right, Kennar Lewis. Right, because Kennar Lewis is presently in the T20 setup.
Right.
For the in fact, he just played for the Tallawal. All right, so one of the most, the last couple of weeks or months, one of the most common questions that has been asked is really the staple of Jamaica's football is just schoolboy football. Having lost a season, and we realize because I do a JPL show every week, and there are so many youngsters in the JPL, and I figure that is because of the lack of schoolboy football. The option was to play in the Premier League, but that is good to do, but school provides education that the clubs don't provide per se. So if they're not going to be professional footballers, it's good for them to be in the school system where they get an education and play football, and that is something that ISSA provides. What does that look like in terms of ISSA going forward in the pandemic for football, for some of these young men to be reintegrated into the schooling system and still have the opportunity to play football at some level?
Well, I think we are cognizant of the fact that the schoolboy football, all our organized competitions are really critical to our students, not just to allow them to play, but as a socialization tool for them, as well as a tool to provide opportunities, especially for scholarships. Many of our players would have missed out. Well, all of them would have missed out last season because there was no schoolboy football. For those who are in their final year, you would imagine that many of them would not have been standout players 2 years ago who would have played a lot of football and therefore gotten the opportunity to showcase their talent. And so we think that it's extremely important that we play schoolboy football this school year. And so we are making plans to have schoolboy football this year. Right now, we have to continue to move our target based on what is happening. But our target right now is to have us start the competition in November.
Okay, so in November. All right. That is good news. And I guess as time progresses, we'll know how the format will be. And
yes, definitely.
Okay. But we'll still have both competitions, meaning both the Manning Cup and the DaCosta Cup.
It's likely, but I think we have a few days left to start looking at the format in terms of structure, because that is going to be largely dependent on the number of schools that are entered, as well as the support that we have from our sponsors. I think we have fairly good support coming from all our stakeholders in terms of them wanting to see this happen and the support that they want to give us. So I think that should be okay, but we now need to determine how many schools are actually going to participate. I think that when we did our initial survey during the summer, we had as many as 70 DaCosta Cup teams and 32 Manning Cup teams who indicated that they wanted to play schoolboy football. But with us not being able to go back to school for face-to-face activities, and that seems not going as if it won't happen for another few weeks, I think that it may pose a challenge to some of our schools to support their programs, and therefore it may happen that some of them won't be able to play. But we hope that by the end of next week, we'll have that final list.
Well, that's good. So listen, if you are a past student of some of these schools, you probably need to get in contact with your past student association so that you can probably, give some support to your school participating. I have a military...
I think that's a good point you would have made there, Sir Stennett. I think where we are as schools, most of the schools are actually trying to train. They're trying to hold the camps, but it's difficult for the schools to support these camps with the limited or no resources they have. So I would think that one of the ways that the past students who want to see their schools involved could contribute is to probably look at sponsoring a camp for a few weeks for their teams to ensure that the boys can be fed and, you know, they have the resources to start their training.
Yeah, excellent. And that is something I want to bring up tonight, because I don't think, because everything, it may not be the bubble like the CPL, but there has to be some sort of controlled training regime where the players, like I said, they are camp, which means they have to social distance one, and all of these things. Food has to be provided. So I think past students, this is the season when more of the past students probably need to get involved in terms of resources to help these schools. But I have a question here from Military Guna. Welcome. He also runs one of these channels. He's a vlogger, does good work. And his question is, I was informed that Yorkton High School will not be participating in the schoolboy football this year. May I know why? I think that is Mr. Wellington. I don't know if you're aware.
Well, I couldn't answer that question. I'm not the principal of Yorkton. I know when we last played in 2019, they didn't participate either. They didn't participate in 2019 when we had our last competition. Yeah, but that would be a school decision.
Right, and that's what people need to understand, that a lot of times when school don't participate, it isn't based on an ISSA ruling. It is the prerogative of the principal, and the principal may decide for whatever reason. It could be disciplinary, could be educational, it could be financial reasons, to pull the team from the competition. And what I would say is that if you see that your former school is pulled from the competition, maybe what you can do is engage the principal, because it may be a resource issue, especially in this time. Okay, so yes, so we're looking forward to a possible November start, which means it will be abbreviated, because normally schoolboy football go into the second week in December max. So that means you'd run over into cricket season and track and field training. How will that work?
Well, as I said earlier, we haven't worked out all the details, but there are some basic things that we would have already decided on in terms of wanting to ensure that there's at least a minimum number of games that each school will play. But again, how they play those games and when they play those games is going to be dependent on entries and, you know, the approval. Because remember, we have to go through an approval process with the government for them to approve the competition structure and, you know, to give us the go ahead. So we want to, as I said, really the next step is confirming the schools that will play. Once we have that information, we can work out the details as the scheduling, format, structure, and more.
Okay. What about because the JPL, the Jamaica Premier League, they're almost at the conclusion of their first season, and I mean they seem to have implemented some very good protocols in terms of testing, wearing of the mask. Today I had Rudolph Speed on and Paul Christie, and they said up to the point that we had the interview, they were 60 to 70% vaccinated in terms of the players. Would those things make a difference if you were to take some of those transferable principles or protocols from what the JPL did to apply to the ISSA schoolboy football competition, or it's different at the schoolboy level and they may not work?
No, and certainly there are concepts, there are practices that are best practices that will apply to us and to how we function. I think that health and safety has to be a paramount part of what we do. And so even from a JPL perspective, comparing it with schoolboy football, we have to be even more careful with how we execute our competitions. Remember, we are going to have to be custodians of youngsters who actually can only participate with the permission of their parents. That's one. And two, who are not involved in a professional environment. This is not a situation where they are working for their livelihood. And so we have to ensure that it is a safe environment that they are going to be participating in. And so we will have to adapt not just some of what the JPL would have introduced, but some of what happens internationally, some of what we did for camps, and some of the things that may be unique to a schoolboy environment, we have to find them and ensure that they are implemented to protect our footballers.
Yeah, yeah, and then one of the concerns that I had, and I use Manning's High School as an example, right? So at Manning's High School, the field is is right in the center of the school.
Yes,
So if a game is played, say the game if the game starts when school is over at 2:30, you have spectators because
yes,
the
yes.
students are going to be your spectators. So I know like the JPL is played without spectators as a control measure, but this is school, and if kids are in school, um, even if it's not the entire school population, how do you do that? Because schoolboy football, more so than our local league, is highly supported in terms of spectators because it
Yes.
is primarily young people. I mean, how would ISSA deal with that issue, especially for games that are played on the school ground?
Well, so first of all, one of the things that we have also already decided is that we will not be having home and away situation this year. So we are going to be using specific venues that will be tailor made for concerns like those. Not to say that we won't have a game at Mannings or at States or at Dintil or so on, but the scheduling and the arrangements would be of such so that to take those things into consideration to ensure that those are not going to be factors that would breach the protocols that we have in place. As you said before, these are school grounds, and if it is that school is in session when those activities are taking place, in all likelihood, it would probably mean that those students are vaccinated, and then it would be a matter of ensuring that they follow the protocols
Protocols, yes.
in terms of physical distancing and so on, if they are there while the game is being played.
All right. So given now all that we have in, because this is next problem is the whole 45% rule. I know there was some relaxation to some extent for boys and girls championships last season. Would this apply to or will it now finally be taken off the books? I know you were on KLAS, I think, at some point this year, and there was a robust debate about whether it should even be a rule in the first place. But even if it remains a rule in the long term, is there any plans to kind of relax the rules, and what would the rules be relaxed to if there is? Are 45% still remain?
All right. So first of all, let me just reaffirm that it is unlikely that that rule will be remain. Will be, sorry, that rule will be removed anytime soon. So long term, long term, because the truth is that remember, the competition is a scholastic competition. It is for student athletes. So you want to ensure that we have students participating. And so the rule is likely to remain. Just as if you go to college, you're not allowed to play intercollegiate football or track and field or without meeting a certain GPA. So I don't see the difference with us. But bearing in mind the circumstances now, we had already taken the decision that we would waive the requirement for sorry, just excuse me a minute. And I don't have COVID. I just have a so we did take the decision that for competitions held this term, we would not have the 45% requirement, because we did for all schools last year. The position was taken that we wouldn't forego external exams. Sorry, final year exams, formal exams. So we will not have that 45% rule in place. We will also not have the attendance rule in place, but the principals will be required to verify that the students have been attending classes.
Yeah. Oh well, that I think that because that's so hard because it's online.
Yes.
And having the gadget on and being online don't mean that you're in class.
That's true. That's true. And that is a general concern. That's a general concern that we have within the system right across the board, not just for sports, but generally for assessments of students' performances. We are concerned about for attendance. So even when we submit our attendance data to the ministry. We are mindful of the fact that many of these students who we report as attending school, really they are not, because they come on, they sign in, and they are asleep in their beds.
I'm telling you, I have seen that happening. I've seen person when at a class, they said they sign in, but they were on the road doing other business.
Yep.
So probably the attendance rule, it can't even be properly measured unless there's a
Right.
margin of error that covers it.
Right. So what we expect, management, is that our principals will understand that it is the integrity of the competition is at stake, and therefore it's important to have a student who you haven't seen for the last 18 months and allow him to participate. But we also want to balance that with the fact that we want our competitions now in this current crisis. We want our competitions to be a tool that is to ensure that our young people are engaged in school. So if it is the only activity that is going to be used to ensure that our 16 and 17 and 18-year-olds remain engaged, remain off the street, and remain involved in activities that are wholesome, then we will accept it at this point.
And then one of my questions to this is, given transfers, it's hard to measure even transfers now when kids are not. And what I fear that may happen is players end up playing that were not properly transferred and attending the school.
Again, how the system works. If you are going to transfer from states, let us say today is September 16. If you are going to transfer from states to Mannings, right? You are not allowed to enter Mannings legally unless states provides you with a release letter. Right?
Okay.
So let us say somebody is claiming that they transferred 1 year ago and they have already sat out the year. They need to produce a letter from the school they are going that is dated 1 year ago. So if they turn up and I think you're onto something. I think you know that it is something that is going to be tried. But I would say to the schools, be careful, to the coaches, because you're going to have to produce a letter from the school that the child is coming from, dated a year ago. So unless it is that school agrees to
both schools
agree to rig that arrangement, then so be it.
Yeah, but all right. So there at least some protection with that letter.
Yeah, man. Because you can't be released. It has to go through a clearinghouse, and those letters have to be produced. Right. So if you even produce a letter, if let us say that you're claiming that you transferred September 2020, you're eligible for September 2021, and you produce a letter dated September 21 from the school, we are going to question it and say that no, that means the transfer was effective post it was post what do you call it now, after the fact. Right?
Okay.
So I want to use this opportunity to just remind the coaches that integrity is important, and a lot of these actions are taken because people want to win and want to win at all costs. I think the circumstances that we're under now dictates that it is not about winning, but just providing an opportunity for the youngster.
An outlet. Yeah, because I believe like what is happening is so many of our youngsters they're just like they're in limbo. They're not out of school, but they're not in school. So they're at this place and talent is being wasted. But I have a couple of questions. So let me just take this one. It says, what are the processes of getting a media pass to be able to do some coverage of the game?
Right. So the media rights holder is Sportsmax. So if it is coverage, live coverage, they have to apply to Sportsmax for that live coverage. If it is coverage from the perspective of reporting, right, then your media house would have to apply for accreditation to attend the games.
Oh well, so what happened? Let me. Cause military guna like myself, we're called what you call vloggers, which is not contemporary, media. It's not your TVJ, your CVM. And the challenge sometimes is like for me, I do a lot of coverage on like the JPL. And the schoolboy football, I go to the games, as many games as possible, travel and watch them. I mean, final P and go in, but I give coverage to it. But you don't get a media pass because you're not the TVJ and the CVM, and I think that is where it's asking the question: where in the system does it allow for persons who are not part of the more popular media houses? Where the system allows you to be able to.
No, but let me just say, I wouldn't want you to say popular. All the traditional media houses have the opportunity to report, right? There are protocols in terms of coverage, live coverage, because it is a product that someone paid for.
Okay.
Similarly, the bloggers who are chiefly social media based have to understand that when a company like Digicel or KFC pays for the product, they want to ensure that before you can get it on YouTube on your channel, they get it on their channel because they paid, right? So they are not going to be, and you have to understand it's a business, right? It would be unfair to them for them to have to pay to sponsor the event, and you get the opportunity to just get a pass to come in and upload on your social media site and get 30,000 viewers, right? While their site that they are using to try to promote their products will only be able to report secondhand. So I think that what the position that you're in as a blogger is that really you're seen as a third party to the activity, and so you're not going to necessarily get front seat coverage.
Yeah. Has ISSA ever thought about like the schools that are so far indicated an interest? You as a president, have you engaged them in such a way? So listen, let's have a Zoom meeting and get a representative from the past student association so we can outline to them what it will take to run the competition and how they can be involved. Is that something, because in these times it's easy to have I believe one of the things the pandemic has done, it has created this new way of communicating and sharing information where we can now, you could have a Zoom meeting and say there were 70 schools that indicated the interest in the DaCosta Cup and the 32. You have one meeting where, as the ISSA president, you could address them and say, listen, past students, the bill has tripled because of what is expected of us to host or to run the football competition. Maybe your school is going to fall out because they will not be able to generate all the resources. Here is the plan, and here's what you can do. Because there are many persons in the diaspora who probably are connected to a Yuatan or a Charlie Mount, and they don't know and they can't get involved. But is there any plans afoot to kind of engage people who are not directly involved in the football from an ISSA perspective, to share the real information out there so people realize that for Manning, so for Monroe, for Stets to play in this, it is a $20 million budget, as an example, and we need our past students to come along.
So really no. The short answer is no. Simply because I don't think that we are in the business of micromanaging. All the schools, every school is represented by a principal at ISSA. So we don't have information from our membership. So all schools are aware through their principals of the challenges and what is required. And we also have our coaches. So we meet with our coaches from time to time and we outline the situation. We must meet with past student associations, right? So the National Association of Past Students, we have had dialogue with them. We now have a very good relationship with the National Parent Teachers Association. So we have that sort of avenue. And of course, we have media partners. We have opportunities like this that we're having now, where we share information publicly. But to actually go and lobby on behalf of schools from no, because, and as you said, if we were to have that meeting and to say that boy it's going to cost $5 million, it may hamper a school like Manning's who is already spending $20 million. So they may say to Manning's, why is it you're asking us for 20 and the president say 5 can do it?
Yes, that is true. That's a very good point. Very good point. That's a very good point because it may hamper it as well. But because I ask, because there are schools who they're not like the states. Like I have always known states. I don't want to say a sports school, but good educationally, but they're always strong, not just in one sporting discipline. States does well in football, in cricket, in track, almost all the sports that they participate in. You'll see them in school challenge quiz. You'll see them in the debate. So they are very well rounded. All right, but not all schools are all principals. No, you're the ISSA is really made up of principals. Is there a one a model that states has? That states when a new principal comes into the system, this is how you operate. Is there a ISSA model that is shared with all principals because we want to build up holistic our kids? Here is a module that will get your kids performing well educationally and be engaged in sporting activity. Is there anything like that out there? Every principal is responsible to do what he wants to do, but there is one model that we all give to all of you, module, and you can make tweaks and changes to fit whether you are rural or urban, all boys, all girls. But here's the thing: this is what works. Here is the manual. Here is the manual. Take it, go through it, and tweak it where you want. But we want to give you the what you call the general, the core stuff. What is the foundation for building healthy sports program and still offering the best education to our kids? Is there plans for ISSA to do something like that, so we don't have states out in the West outshining all the others, but every school has one manual that they're using, but they're making some changes along?
So we have 172 schools, right? All of them are unique in a sense. One of the things that as an association we do, we have a vision and mission statement which speaks to providing opportunities for students to be involved in wholesome sporting activities. Now, the fact is that the variety of schools that we have different levels of resources, different levels of interest in terms of what they want to see their students become. So it would be difficult for us to have a model that we expect all schools to follow. But what we do is to have a vision, right, that we promote amongst our principals to say, this is our vision, this is our mission, this is what ISSA is about, and therefore this is what we are trying to get you to, which is simple to provide the opportunities for your students to participate. Now, that mission is usually hampered by the mission of the school as an individual entity, as well as the ability of the school to deliver the resources that are required for these kids, for them to produce this, to provide this opportunity. What we have tried to do at ISSA, especially over the last, I would say, 6 years or so, is to, as much as possible, take away some of the financial burden of the schools in terms of what is it that they need to participate, right? So the gear, the official fees and so on, that because there was a time when we were in high school when schools had to pay the referees to participate, right? They had to provide their own gear and so on. So we have over time tried to reduce that burden, and we are seeing more and more schools participating. We are seeing schools, small schools. We have schools that have only 300 students, right? But we have these schools are trying to provide the opportunities for their children to participate. So I think it is through our mission and our vision where we are trying to get all our schools to be involved. But mandating and templating, no, we don't have that.
All right, I have a very good, but I'm going to share this. Up top boss is suggesting that you share the recipe as to how to get sponsorship with the Jamaica Football Federation. In fact, he suggested that you should run for the president of the Jamaica Football Federation. I don't think Mr. Wellington wants to leave the school. He's not just the president at ISSA, he's also the principal at the school and also a teacher. So I don't think. But you want to respond to that? Because I don't want to
No,
respond for you, you know.
no. I think you have represented me well.
And then Mr. Sterling from Philadelphia is saying that Mr. Roddy Mullins have sent best high. He's their big booster. I don't know about. But you know, one of the things I've always said is, and because I had the opportunity of being in an urban school and a rural school, that the resources available from corporate Jamaica, like they get to the border St. Catherine and they stop. Like they leave Kingston and St. Andrew, they get to St. Catherine and everything kind of like cut off right there. It picks up in Montego Bay and it ends like in St. James and it ends right there. So places like Hanover, Westmoreland, St. Elizabeth, your Manchester, your St. Mary, the schools in those areas, when you look at corporate Jamaica, they struggle. Is there and go ahead.
I want to, in defense of corporate Jamaica, though. I think there's a little issue that all of us as rural area schools face, and the fact it has to do with demographics, right? So we have really good past students who could contribute to us, not just financially, but in terms of time, which is an important resource. Some people don't understand that at KC probably have for their track team 20, 25 coaches, many of whom are volunteers, right? Most of whom are volunteers. It is difficult for a States or a Rossies or a Mannings or a Titchfield or a Morant Bay High to find that level of support, because the persons who we have who love us that much, right? They are not within that close physical vicinity to just come in from work at 4 o'clock to give 2 hours, right? And to see the needs of the school and go back to work tomorrow morning and say to the boss, listen, man, I need you to give 5 breakfasts per morning for my boys, right? We don't have that. At Calabar or at Merle Grove, a past student can come in every evening at 4:30, come and even just watch training and recognize that a student don't have on a proper pair of spike, right? And go back to work tomorrow morning and solicit the support and come back. For us, for States and Mannings, right? That will happen when a student comes down at the end of a past student come down at the end of the year, see what happening, and decide, say, boy, I'm going to look some help, and 2 months' time, you see some help come. Right? Yeah. So it's not just corporate Jamaica itself limiting its support to those in Kingston and Montego Bay. It is just the dynamics of it. A school like Monroe, for example, right? So Pioneer knows that they are outstanding past students with the wherewithal, but they are so detached, physically detached from the school, that they don't get the sort of support that the same type of person in Kingston is able to give to KC or Calabar or JC. Right? But it's not that they don't have that same type of person with maybe just the same amount of passion too, but the physical detachment from the school is really debilitating.
That is true, because you'll find that a lot of persons like in those parishes normally work outside of the parish because there are not enough jobs there. So that is a real factor.
Yes, I think that is the biggest factor, along with the fact that you have some schools that are 30, 40, 50 years old, where the oldest past student is 60 and 70 year old. Wealth is not created unless you're born into wealth, right? You don't become wealthy at 35 or 40. You understand? So they don't have the legacy of that staunch 80-year-old past student who is now retired, have resources that they don't need and willing to share it. So a vast majority of our schools fall in that category, and that is why the quote-unquote traditional schools have that advantage, not because of anything that they have done wrong, but because they have been around from 1738.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point, because many persons have been suggesting that there be some parity, meaning that Maybe there needs to be a cap on how much financial, especially comes down to the champs and all of these things, and how much resources one particular school can get, because it is giving them an unfair advantage,
Yes.
that other schools don't have. Meaning, if you say $60 million is what you cannot surpass, or stuff for your track and field program. Because the truth is, if one school gets 60 million and one school gets 600,000, it is obvious that the school with 60 million is probably going to do a whole lot better
Yeah. But
than
but
the
guess
school.
what? But guess what? We speak globalization and we speak about the fact that you compete. Everybody has to learn to compete with everybody else, irrespective of the circumstances. So it may appear to be unreasonable and unfair. But when those smaller schools do well, what you ought to do is to give them even greater credit. But I think it would be unfair to punish one set because they can find the resources. You want to bring them down. And so although I may believe in socialism, I don't
Yeah.
think that that's necessarily the best way to go about things.
Yeah, that's what the socialist people think. But the other question is the influx of kids from other Caribbean territories coming to represent schools in Jamaica. Is there any sort of limitations on that? I mean, because people will tell you, listen, we offering good education. That's what they're here for. They're not here for the football. They're not here for the high jump. They're not here for the long jump. They are here for the education because we offer good education. And also, truthfully, they are here for track and field, which is good because we have some of the better coaches in the Caribbean, and you can tell by our exploit at the international um, level. All right. So the question is there any plans from ISSA to kind of say, listen, you can't have a DaCosta Cup team and five of your starting 11 are persons from other Caribbean territory. You can't have a track and field team and you have 10 athletes from other Caribbean territory. Is there any plans and any to kind of put a limit on that, or it's just as many kids as possible who want to come, let them come because we have good education here and good sports program?
So every time that conversation is brought up, one of the first things that is done or said is a comparison is made between what is happening with us now as opposed to what happens when our kids finish high school and go off in droves to the American colleges, right, or universities. So every time there is that discussion that comes up, so I just wanted to bring it up before anybody else does, right? The truth is that there is no breach being created by that influx of persons from outside of Jamaica attending school here. There is no breach currently, right? And we have not had any serious problems with it to date. Once there are rules, we actually have rules that speak to persons coming in from abroad or persons joining schools after a particular time. So, for example, the kids who come in after age 16, they have to sit out a year if they are not coming in to attend sixth form. So right now, there isn't any serious concern being raised. Yes, there are persons who have raised their concern, but at an ISSA level, we haven't been overly concerned to this point.
So you're saying that it is okay for me to get six good ballers, say from between Guyana and Trinidad, to come and start in the starting 11 for Manning. So the DaCosta Cup season coming up.
Six good ballers from where?
Trinidad and Tobago, say six from Trinidad and three from Guyana, to come and start for Mannings in the DaCosta Cup.
All right, so I'm not saying that it is okay, and I'm not saying that it is not either. At this point, we have not had anything doing it, and we think that it is. Well, I know that there was a school that had two Mexicans not too long ago, and it still didn't work out well for them. So it is a situation that is evolving, and I'm sure that it's not that we want to be solely reactive, but we also don't want to necessarily be so proactive as to not provide the opportunities that may exist for some students and some schools to provide that opportunity.
I personally think, listen, if people want to come from the States, from places in Africa, from Asian countries, they need to come and play, because they're coming here because if our educational system wasn't good enough and if our sporting programs were not good enough, they would not come. So I think it's good for the sports, it's good for the nation, but there are persons who have the concern. I see Sefton says boost up play a role in providing student athletes with a positive experience through their enthusiastic effort. They can support team and athletic departments through donation of time and financial, I think, and financial. I think he has the next comment here that finish and financial resources, which help student athletes succeed on and off the playing field, which is true. So we are not against support coming in from past students or sponsors and things. We have someone said a capitalist has entered the chat. I guess because we were speaking about. But Claudia Hadji says, but talent will always rise to the top regardless of money. That is Jamaica and the US. And I guess she's saying that no matter how much money one school may have, you're still going to produce your Sachin Dennis in St. Elizabeth Technical. Mannings will still produce athletes, the Tracy Barnes, the Allison Beckford. The school in St. Mary will still produce. The school, your Balaclava, your Black River, all of these schools, they will still produce good athletes. And that is true. That is true. I think, somebody... No quota system. No. Listen, I'm not suggesting that there is any quota system. I'm just saying that people have a genuine concern. I remember during champs, people are genuine concerned that there were particular schools who one, they have several athletes from outside of Jamaica, and people complain. Listen, people don't see it as a problem when you don't win enough. But the moment you win and come to the top, the complaints, because the rivalry between these schools are very high. And then people are even questioning if the rules apply. So if I come from, say, some place in Africa, say I come from Nigeria, do I still have to sit out a year, or do I come in and participate? And I think that was one of the questions people asked. Do I still sit out a year, or do I? Okay.
Yeah, man. They still sit out a year. If you're over 16. If you're over 16, you sit out a year. If you're under 16, you don't have to sit out a year. But I think one of the things, as you're on that, one of the concerns I've also heard is that, especially the Caribbean islands, some of these kids are coming here, getting expert training from us, and then turn around and beat our kids when they meet at the regional. Yes. So I've heard that concern.
I think Calabar, that guy a few years ago, I think his name was Belafonte, right? Belafonte, right. And that was the thing. But I still believe it is good. I think if we can find the top Caribbean athletes or footballers to come to our schools, what it does, it challenges our very own athletes. It offers great opportunity for our coaches, and again, it speaks to, because no sensible parent would pull their child out of a school to send them into a system where they're going to struggle educationally. Right. So it does speak to the fact that they at least believe that we provide quality education as well. Let me just take USA should prevent Jamaicans from performing in their college as well. I guess he's speaking that if we want to prevent people from other Caribbean nations from participating here, then
I remember we are supposed to be a community, a single market and economy, and therefore we should be able to move freely. I think we are one of the issues is that Jamaicans don't seem to be able to move freely around. But
that is part of the issue. CARICOM seem to be people can come, but we can't go.
Yeah.
They can come, but Sefton is saying the transfer portal is an NCAA application to systematically manage the transfer process for Division 1, 2, and 3 student athletes. The portal is the first step in the application of the Division 1. I am not sure I understand the all right, and I think he goes on and says Division 1 notification of transfer and Division 2 and 3 permission to contact. Oh, so how it works is that notification of the transfer, and then you have permission, I guess, to make contact with the
parents,
yeah. And then I see Claudia Hodges says, management, will this take away valuable resources from our kids? I don't think so. I think I don't think if we had 10, if you have a track program, and Mr. Wellington, I mean, stats always disappoint me at champs because every year I pick them as the team from out west. Is that going to break into the top 3 at the boys' side or on the girls' side? And somehow it never work out, and people
get in there.
You know how long I've been waiting. You know how long I've been waiting.
We're at 4th now, so we're at the doorstep.
Oh, yeah,
we have the big 3 in front of us.
There you go. But I don't think that if Steps, for example, were to take 10 kids and 10 kids from different nations in the Caribbean decide, listen, we want to come here because you have produced some good athletes. We see, I think Coach Watson is his name. He's doing some good job with the male sprinters. I don't think that would take away from the program because the kids will still be in the school. And if they are good enough, they are still going to run. But I think the competition would challenge them to do better. What do you think? Or that is not your approach, Mr. Wellington. If parents approach you from St. Lucia or from Guyana and say, listen, we have seen what you have been doing. We like the way how your school operate. We have some cricketers that would like our track athletes, our footballers. Do you believe if you include them in your program, it would take away valuable resources from other kids in Jamaica?
No, I don't think. Listen, I've had some experiences. First of all, I think it's a good idea where we get our students to mix with people from different cultures. So as an educational activity, I think that it is beneficial, right? I have had experiences there. One year I had about 8 Barbadians who their coach and so on. I went to university with a teacher from their school, and we had about 8 Barbadians who parents decided that they wanted them to come to States. Some of them did track, some did cricket, mainly cricket and tracks, right? And parents came with them, and some of them spent 1 year, others spent more than 1 year here. None of them was really good enough to make an impact. Their experience was very good. I still communicate with the students themselves. One is in the army at Barbados. I had another guy from Bahamas whose coach and I went to Monroe together, and he said this boy is a good boy. He's playing for Bahamas, and he came and couldn't make the States team. But occasionally he left to play ICC cricket for the Bahamas. So we got him help him to develop his cricket. He wasn't good enough to play for States, but he was good enough to play for the Bahamas. I've seen a team play cricket at ICC level. So that was a contribution that we are proud that we would have made. And we have had other students. We had a student from Canada whose father is a past student. At 16-year-old, his father asked, could you take him? He wants to do track and field, get him shot up so that he can go to college. And he came here, again, not good enough, not good enough to make a mark. But there are going to be times, I'm sure, when we're going to have some who will make a mark at champs, and people will make us think about it. But there have been dozens already who have come, and we would have contributed to their development, especially when they come to go to a technical school. They come and learn a particular skill, and they go back to their countries and develop on that skill, both in terms of the sport and the technical thing. So I really don't have anything against it. My biggest issue with it is really where the schools are proactive in trying to get these kids to come, and then they come and feel and focus solely on the particular sport without trying to develop them otherwise.
Yeah, Well, here's the final question I want to ask you, Mr. Wellington, because I know this is time well spent, and this is a challenge that I have. I always feel like a 19-year-old should not be participating in high school event, especially when they're going to play against a 15-year-old and then we call them a big star in football.
Yeah.
Like I remember going to Manning's, right? And I mean, I wasn't big, and I mean, I would try out for sport. I was a very good footballer. I mean, played for the school and all of that. But we had a fast bowler called Mark Madan.
Yes.
Good fast bowler. No, Mark Madan, these guys are big and tall. I mean, I'm very right. These guys are in upper 6 and 6, right? Now you can imagine like you have a 15-year-old going up to bat who is small in stature against a Mark Madan. I think we have to find a way that the guys in sixth form plays like collegiate level football. I think they can still be in school, but I think at a certain age they should not be allowed to play in regular school sports, especially against school that don't have sixth form programs.
All right, so I think first of all, I think your point would be a moot point at this time, simply because I don't know if you're aware, but the government's policy now is that all high schools should offer grades 12 or 13. So even if we're not talking about sixth form where students matriculate with 5 or 6
Yes.
or 7 subjects, the school that not producing those, they should still have a grade 12 where rather than at the end of fifth form at 16-year-old, 15, 16, 17-year-old, rather than you sending out the kid, the government is saying that those students should stay in school until they are at least 18. So it
Right.
means so that makes your point a moot point. But even outside of that though, I think that you have to remember that we have age group competition. So the 16, 15-year-old can be playing under 16. The 17, 18, 19-year-olds can play schoolboy, whatever, cricket or football. But the point I want to make in support of what you're saying is that we have to recognize, in my mind, as a principal, one of the things I say to my kids is that if you're a 17-year-old and you're not big enough or good enough to be making money from the sport, then you really should be focusing on your academics, right? Use the sport to get a college education because, especially for football, a 17-year-old is not a big thing if you can't walk into a Premier League team, right? So while you may be good at schoolboy football, if you're a 17 or 18-year-old and can't walk into a Jamaica Premier League team, it means that chances of you making money from football is very slim. So focus on your college getting that. Use the football to get $100,000 worth of scholarship so that you can go to college and play football. And if you are lucky, based on the system, if you are lucky and you develop, then you get drafted and then you can make some money out of football, right? But at 17, if you're talking about professional football and you shouldn't be averaging 45, then you should walk into a Premier League team and go play Premier League football. Right? But at 17, you must either have left school and be playing pro, or you're trying your very best to get an education so that you can get a scholarship. That's my personal perspective.
But here's I mean, you made a very salient point because my issue is like I passed common entrance. You go to high school at 10, pass your first term. At 15, I graduated from high school.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So if I graduate from high school, how am I still playing schoolboy football?
Mm-hmm.
Because sixth form, listen, I don't graduate after sixth form, I graduate after fifth form, and it's called the school leaving ceremony. So how I leave school and then I still go and participate in school sports.
All right. So again, I pointed out where the ministry is, where the government is. So you're probably talking retroactively, but
Okay.
but the truth is though, I think the graduation. I personally don't believe that high school graduation means a lot, especially the way we do it, where we have that graduation in June, even before your results come out and you know what you would have accomplished. So the graduation argument is really semantics as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
The fact is that the sixth form is a part of your school life. It's really how it was. It's not necessarily the same thing now. How it was reward for doing well in your first 5 years, and therefore you get still in school. But again, as I said before, we have to be careful how to promote these 18 and 19-year-olds. Because the truth is, if you look at track and field, for example, one of the things that people don't recognize is that when we go to pen relays and dominate against these high school, a lot of these kids are 16 and 17-year-old who are dominating against.
Yeah.
And these kids leave their high school at 17 and go to college. So they are in college and they graduate from college at 20, 21, while our high school kids are just leaving high school. You understand? So in a way, we have to be really fair with what is happening and be mindful of what we are promoting and putting in the heads of our kids. So when our kids leave here at age 19 to go to college, right? Many of them are in classes with kids who are 17-year-old.
Okay.
Right? But the level of maturity of the Jamaican kid, to be honest,
it's way ahead.
It's not the 17-year-old in Jamaica is not as exposed. I would not have had the opportunities that the American kid had at 16, 17. So I think that is why we probably keep them a little bit longer. Right? And it is probably why the government is now saying everybody at 18, you should still be in school. Other than maybe they want to ensure that the employment statistics is a little better than what it is. The truth is that our 17-year-olds, the level of maturity is way below that of a 17-year-old in the developed countries.
All right. I think I'm going to take two comments from the people in the comment section, then I'll release it. It says, ask Mr. Wellington about trades in schools management. If a kid is talented and don't meet the 45%, he should be able to become a farmer, a mason, a plumber, or whatever he or she likes while playing the game. So if you can't meet the 45% rule, couldn't you teach me barbering and allow me to play football?
Hold on.
I think
so I am. Remember, I'm the principal of high school, right? So
yeah.
we have a whole lot of subjects that CXC don't even examine. Right? It's not on the CXC list of subjects. So these students have to get examined by heart, in most cases. And in one case, we do land surveying, right? Which in order for the student to get a grade for land surveying at the end of the form, we arrange with UTech. UTech sets a paper for them and they do the paper. So when a student from states goes to UTech and sit in a class, a land surveying class, he is probably the only one in there who has any experience at all about land surveying. So I want to say that I believe in the technical. I say to my students that my mechanic, I don't want my doctor to be brighter than my mechanic, right? Because if my mechanic isn't bright and he puts in my disc pad in reverse and I'm going down to surgery, it is the same effect as my doctor giving me a wrong injection. Right? so I am somebody who, although I went to a traditional high school, I strongly believe in technical skills, and therefore, from an ISSA perspective, we believe that the 45% should be applied to those years, right? So and it is applied. So the student who gets 45 in woodwork, or 45 in plumbing, or 45 in welding, those
agricultural science or whatever it is.
Right. So ISSA doesn't have a problem with that.
Okay, great. And then Claudia Hadji said Meadowbrook High School academic was always top priority when I went there. Had to get my athletes fixed
from outside.
From outside. Okay.
Yeah, but again, the opportunities, you see, we have to encourage the students to strike the balance now, because the academic side of it, the opportunity, more students are going to get opportunities to move on in life because they mix the academics with the sport, than those who are going to get opportunities because they are extremely skillful and did not take care of the academics. Right? So if you have a child who is brilliant in the sport, right, you want to ensure that you allow them the opportunity to do the academics as well, because if you have 5 of them, right, and 3 of them take the chance to do the academics and 2 don't, right, or 2 do the academics and 3 don't, the 2 who does the academics will collectively they are going to achieve more than the 3 who does the track and field or the sport only.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, the math says that there are only 8 lanes in the finals of the Olympics. And there are only 32 teams in the there are only 12 teams in the Premier League, 32 teams in the World Cup, or 20 Premier League teams. So, but there are numerous opportunities, right?
Yeah.
For somebody who is able to get a college education.
What I think like schools like states need to do, and I mean, and it's something I want managers to do, is that when you have kids in the school, they love the sport, they're not good enough, and maybe struggling educationally, teach them to be masseuse therapists,
yes.
to be referees, to be umpires, because they can learn that in some secondary programs in the school.
Or the journalists.
There you go. All of these other things are connected to sports, and they're all needed. They can start they're industries, viable industries right now. I mean, you can be a FIFA official, you can be an umpire. Anthony Davis, there is going to be schoolboy football in September. We can't. I don't know. It being in St. Thomas has to do with the schools that are in St. Thomas, if they will participate or not. So I don't think, But
no, maybe he's saying that schools are playing football in St. Thomas, but not ISSA schoolboy football being played.
Oh.
But the truth is too, I know that a lot of people are breaching the protocols as they are now. People are playing when they shouldn't. But right now, ISSA has not organized any competition, and we're not sanctioning anything like practice games or anything like that now.
Oh, I didn't know. That's what he's saying.
I think that is what he's saying.
Football.
That's not good night, people. Good night, people. Schoolboys football is playing in St. Thomas. It's playing at Well,
no. Let me say this way: schoolboys are playing football in St. Thomas, but it's not schoolboy football. But schoolboys are playing football in St. Thomas. I think it's more appropriate saying that schoolboy football, because schoolboy football means that Costa Cup. How did the COVID? How did the break due to COVID affect high school football? We spoke a little bit about that, so we don't want to go over it. And then coding and trades should be right up there with books and pencils.
Yep.
Many highly educated youth in Jamaica who aren't doing as good as the plumbers.
True. Plumbing is one of the things that makes good money. I don't find many good plumbers.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Wellington, I know you're a busy man. I know you had a long day at school and you have a family and all of that. So I want to really thank you for your time. Good. Sit down and talk. People, you heard it from Mr. Wellington that there is going to be D Cup. They said ISSA. They said ISSA football is playing D Cup.
Yeah, man, they say we are going to play D Cup. Maybe he's saying that the schools are saying that yes, that we are preparing to play Costa Cup this year. Of course, everything is contingent on what happens with COVID. But the schools are aware that there are plans afoot to play schoolboy football this year.
Yeah, and that is those plans are in November.
Yes.
Mr. Wellington, so I'm going to. I mean, is there anything that you want to just say in closing to persons listening? We have some persons from outside of Jamaica in the chat that anything you want to speak to them about schoolboy football or just sports generally, because I mean, track and field is right around the corner. It's not like cricket. We haven't heard. I mean, cricket need to start, man, because this West Indies and Jamaica cricket business right now depressing people. We need to develop some better cricketers and see that states always do that. What would be a final word? Yes.
Just to say, we want at ISSA to ensure that we return school sports to our kids. We want to provide them with that opportunity. It has been unhealthy, the lockdown, and we know many of our students are affected by the absence. And we are working closely with our different stakeholders, the schools, sponsors, the government agencies, to ensure that we return to activities. We know that a lot depends on what is happening with COVID, and therefore we want to play our part to encourage persons to abide by the various protocols relating to COVID and trying to stop the spread. and including vaccination. We believe that it's important that as many Jamaicans as possible get vaccinated. And so we want to encourage everyone. We want to get back to some semblance of normalcy. And we believe that everybody can contribute to us getting back there.
Yeah, man. All right. So let me. A lot of persons saying thank you to you. So let me just put up some of these so you can see them. Claudia Hodges said good information. Thank you. Up top boss said big up Mr. Welly. Sound like somebody who know you from school days, right there. But Fresh God saying thanks for being here, Mr. Wellington. Nikai James said that Steph's best schoolboy cricket team in Jamaica. That's a fact. All right. When schoolboy football will back, I like to see a Manning Cup All-Star versus the Costa Cup All-Star.
Yeah, that is something that we really wanted to do this year. Not yet on the table, but that will happen. If it doesn't happen this year, I am 100% guaranteeing that it will return. It will return when things return to normal. But it is possible that it will occur this year. But it's something that we want to restart. And there's some news around it too that as soon as we are able to share, I'm sure many of our football lovers will be happy to hear.
All right. Anthony Davis, listen, I'm going to put you to the back of the class. This is the famous Mr. Keith Wellington, the president of ISSA. All right? All right. But Neo is a friend of ours. He's also in the States. He's an attorney. And he's asking if you can come back to specifically talk about transition from schoolboy football to the Premier League. I mean, I know States had Deshaun Brown and what's the other forward? There's Kessa Hall.
Yes.
What's his name again? What Hall? It's a K name.
Kessanio Hall.
Where is he?
Kessanio is in, I think he just completed his master's, and he started playing some semi-pro football in Oklahoma.
Okay, and Deshaun Brown?
Deshaun is actually should have started preseason in India. He plays in India. He should have started this week, but he's here. Should be trying to get him to leave sometime soon.
Okay. Well, so I hope you can come back and talk about, because you know some footballers from states who have transitioned. Oh no, and Michael Carr is man. Listen, this guy, I know him personally. I really want to help. This is the most unfortunate. Like, this guy have just had a series of bad things happening to him.
Yeah, starting with the Costa Cup finals.
Yeah, and you know it was in a practice. It's again Dintil.
Yeah.
Finals. And the setup. Anyway, they're not going to get into it. Yeah, but this guy is. I believe that if he could ever get back to his days, he would be one of the top forwards in Jamaica. And then I haven't heard anything about James.
Demar
James.
Demar is a brother.
Oh, it look like the people them go to States and then just stop playing football after States. You understand me? So we need to talk to him indeed.
As I said, most of our philosophy is that they try and get into school. So try and get into college, because the odds of you making money from football is not as good as you making a living with a good education. So most of our kids, our top kids in particular, they move on, they get a scholarship, and they go abroad and study and get degrees. And Romeo, right? Yeah, broken leg too.
Yeah. What you don't have Webster was also at States, so that he's at Cavaliers now.
He's a Cavalier, right?
One of the best players in the league right now. Webster. What is his name again? Webster?
Ronaldo Webster.
Ronaldo Webster, man. That JC. What about the
Don J is a brother as well. Don J is in the US as well.
And this what's the captain name? Midfielder.
Chris Anjo
Dixon.
He's a brother as well, but not playing football. He almost basically that loss to who was it now? Took Rossies.
Yes.
I think it really really did it. But you know that team that lost to us is what 5-2. We had
Yes.
seven players who played Premier League that same year.
Yeah, man, that's true. And what's the guy from? He's from Westmoreland too, you know. Oh, Jesus, my cousin, you know.
No,
He's overseas as well. Minzy, what's his name?
no.
He's from Reno as well, man. Skinny guy plays in midfield.
Which one of them that know?
He's from a place called Blackheath in
Yeah,
George's play in Westmoreland. Played for Reno, but he's a
yeah,
midfielder. He was in
yeah,
that same team.
yeah,
But he's overseas now. He's supposed to
yeah,
be my cousin, you know, but he's
yeah,
so far cousin. But
yeah.
but Mr. Wellington, the people say you have to come back and talk to us about transitioning from schoolboy to, and I think what you need to explain to them further is that the school not just prepare them to go play Premier League, the school prepare them to, like I said, continue their education.
Yes, yes.
And so we need to discuss that. But thank you again for your time. Really, really good discussion, good information. So there you have it, people.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
Schoolboy. No, don't put ranking in there. Ranking, they never allowed ranking to play. Ranking
Bongo,
was,
Bongo.
well, he went up there, but he never played. He never
You know,
played.
Bongo is such a good boy. He's a good boy, you know. Nice young man, you know. But
He
boy,
was
I
not
don't know.
running. He was not running. That was trying to go to state to play, but it never happened. Yeah, but very cool guy. Perhaps along a football season.
Yeah, man. Good boy, man.
Yeah, yeah, but yes. All right. I have so many things coming up now. Best memory of state were the days of Oliver Clue. Those were the glory days, I suspect. He said, amen. But thanks again, Mr. Wellington. Thanks to all of you in the comment section, all those who listen. Please, before you go, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you have not. We'll try again. He's a very busy man. So we'll try again to have him on the program. Maybe when Stets wins win champs. Like I think they missed it when they had
that don't sound like you want me to come back, man. If you wish that
girls,
when
no.
Stets win champs, you know.
I think the last couple of years when you had Bloomfield and all of these girls, Stacey Williams, Janelle Bloomfield, I think you had such a good team. Like you should have been second. Like at least
no,
second.
we don't have the numbers. We don't have the numbers. We don't
on
have
the
the
girls'
numbers.
side?
No, we don't. We don't. We don't know. You know what? A lot of the quality girls from St. Elizabeth are not at States. Let us just put it that way. So we don't have the quality and the numbers. Similar to the boys.
Well, I know with the boys. I know with the boys because they even struggled at Western champs on the boys' side. But on the girls' side,
no. We have been winning the boys for a while. The girls have
right.
won.
Rossies have defeated you.
When you were in school, the girls were dominant. But
no man, man. When I was in school, man, Tracy Barnes and Alison Beckford and Vanette Dixon and Fastin Lawson and all them big athletes, they man and Trisha Casey, man.
No, it was Mannings and States. It was Mannings and
States. Yes.
Yeah, but I'm satisfied. I'm satisfied with what we are doing, to be honest. I think that for us, it is giving the young people the opportunity and ensuring that those who get the opportunity take it and maximize that opportunity for themselves as individuals. So while the school may not get all the glory, it's important that the individual they get that glory and they get the opportunity and make use of it. So, you know, we are really happy. It's almost a given that if you come to States and you do track and field and you do track and field until 5th form or 6th form, you are going to get an opportunity to further your education. And that is what is important to us. So, you know, we are happy.
Mr. Wellington, I know you have to leave. Shelly and Fraser, coach, I think he's connected to States, but they don't train at States. I think they train in Kingston at the national.
They don't train at States, no. They actually trained here for a while, but they're not training here now.
Yeah.
But they actually did.
What happened to Sachin Dennis? I mean, every time I mention States, Sachin Dennis' name comes up. So
Sachin is always a topical and controversial topic, but I can tell you, he's going to make Jamaica proud.
Well, the first thing Jamaica want to hear is that you said Jamaica.
He's going to make Jamaica proud.
Because everybody believe that the reason why they have not seen him, because many people had him to compete at the World Youth,
Yeah.
Are they even expected to see him at the national championships? That's how he's highly rated.
Yeah.
So when they didn't
Yeah,
see
again,
him,
as I've been saying all evening, one of the things I personally am very involved in our sports program, right? Probably more involved than most principals are in theirs. And one of the things that I have personally tried to sell to our stakeholders is that it's not about winning at all costs, right? And if you I said to you earlier that if a 17-year-old is not good enough to be a professional, the chances of him making money from the sport is very limited. Sachin is one of them that we thought from an early age at 15, we thought that he could make a livelihood out of sports, out of track and field. And because of that, the priority with him has always been his future and never about how much points him can get for states. Never. Right? Never, never. So he has never run for states, especially since class 3, because of what he can contribute to the team. Never. Right? So his talent, his colleagues at states, his fellow schoolmates will tell you that he is handling a particular way as if he's a treasure.
right?
Right?
Well,
And so you're not going to see him participate unless he's 100% fit. And when he participates, he's going to give his all.
yeah. Well, there you have it. Here, there you have it, people. I know you want Mr. Wellington. Somebody just said that you're comfortable and don't want to leave. You could be comfortable and
Okay,
want to sleep.
yeah, I think we
You-
have been on. It's an hour and a
and
half
a
now.
half, right? He's
Yeah, and
comfortable and want to
I
sleep.
don't even keep a meeting for that long.
So I'm going to release him to go. But thank you again. Thank your wife and your family for allowing you this time with us. Hopefully,
Yeah.
we'll have you again sometime in the near future. So you can share with us what is happening at States and what is happening with ISSA. It was indeed a great pleasure, and a lot of good information was shared. And we really appreciate you for that, because we know you have school, you have the presidency, you have the sports program, and in the midst of all of this. So keep doing what you're doing. You're doing a great job. And if it were up to Jamaica, they would make you the head of every sporting body, which means that people respect what you're doing. I've never been in any circle and heard anyone say anything negative about your leadership. And so that's good. And why schoolboy activities, not just you, but the succession of leaders at the sporting level in ISSA has always been tremendous. And there's a great legacy, and we know it will continue after you as you build up leaders. All the best to Stets. um, some will say they are the best out in the west, but Mannings is at the
You
top.
don't have you will not comment.
Yes,
You don't have an independent view.
and I'm very
Anyway,
sure.
yes.
I'm very sure when Mr. Wellington is over on the other campus up there in Malvern, the sentiments may be different, we don't know. But thank you again, Mr. Wellington. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and be safe. And be safe. We really appreciate your time, sir. All
Thank you very
right.
much, sir. And thanks for having me. And it was nice speaking with you. I think we had a good conversation.
Yes, sir. Bless
Uh,
you. Bless you. All right, there you go, people. That was Mr. Keith Wellington for you. All right. So we will have him back on the program. Again, I want to thank all of you for joining the show. Listen, I want to share something with you, right? There are other vloggers out there. I want to thank Coach Minzy. I saw him in here earlier at the coach's desk. Go and give him some love and support. Military Guna. Go and give him some love and support. You have the guys from Sports Frenzy. I think they start their show at 8 o'clock tonight. Great, great content over there. It's called Sports Frenzy. Go and check them out. Um you have the Formula Sports. You have my friend Ryan LFC. Listen, everybody's out there doing some work. Check out what they're doing and support the work, right? These platforms can be a new wave of information and change, and it needs all of us to support all of them, so all of us can grow together and bring sport to a different level, and speak to a wider range of issues. So support the channels. Even if it's just subscribe and say great job, encourage them. And again, thank you so much. Like the video before you leave, subscribe to the channel if you have not, and share the content. I encourage you, please. Sean Laws, yeah, you have Sean Laws. That's Sean Grant. He's also at KLAS. You have Reggae Boys commentary, yes, with Simon Preston. He was on earlier. Listen, check them out, man. But I want to encourage you to be safe. People, be safe, right? This is not a joke thing. This pandemic. JPL coming up on Saturday. Watch it. Be blessed, everyone. Upbeat Boss, Fresh God, Neo Sovereign, Yank Graham, Sefton, Pine Action Sterling, Shatter Artificial Intelligence in the building, Nikai James, Claudia Hodges, that we call it Anthony Davis out of St. Thomas. Bless up, bless up, bless up. Who again? Coach Minzy, Fresh God, always in here supporting me. Military Gona, Pioneer, Data Championship Top Prize. Big up, big up, big up, big up, big up, big up, big up. Really love all the love and all the support, one and all. You keep me encouraged and keep me going. Damien for McGregor. Yeah. All right. Blessings. Have a good night.
Yo, watch about dog, SK New Air this. The body you there, Sniper King I represent for I Am Sure Sports. You get to me, I say, when you want the latest news and sports and updates and all of that, check out I Am Sure Sports. You know the thing goes in. Remember, cover the whole island. Remember Kingston, Westmoreland, Galchester, Orchard Race, Galtigo Bay. Everywhere. I Am Sure Sports. Check it out for the latest news and latest updates. Sniper King I represent. Where them feel like? Ha! Yeah, someone on for the food from we young, from we day, you need height. I Am Sure Sports. Yeah, dog.